Under the golden Tennessee sun, a little girl and her loyal German shepherd faced a darkness no one saw coming, a tale of courage, love, and a father's unbreakable promise. Hey there! Welcome to our channel. If stories of heart and heroism warm your soul, hit that subscribe button and join our family, because this one's going to tug at your heartstrings. Let's dive into the incredible journey of Hannah, Lucy, and a fight that changed them forever. The late October sun dipped low over the rolling hills of rural Tennessee, painting the sky in hues of amber and crimson. Maple Lane, a quiet country road lined with golden oaks and rustling leaves, stretched peacefully before the small town of Clover Hollow. Lucy, a German shepherd with a coat like polished midnight and a spirit as fierce as it was gentle, padded along the gravel path, her ears swiveling at every chirp and rustle. Blood now streaked her sleek fur, matting it against her muscular frame, but her hazel eyes glowed with a defiant fire. 6 motorcycles encircled her, their engines snarling like a pack of wolves closing in. The riders, hardened men in weathered leather, faces etched with scars and malice, formed a menacing ring. One swung a rusty chain, its whistle slicing the air as it grazed Lucy's flank, drawing a sharp yelp. Crouched in the overgrown weeds beyond the roadside ditch, 7-year-old Hannah Baxter clutched a trembling hand over her mouth, her green eyes wide with terror. Her chestnut curls clung to her tear-streaked face as she watched her dog, her best friend, her shadow, stand alone against the threat. "Please, Lucy," she whispered, her voice a fragile thread nearly lost in the wind, "just hold on a little longer." The bikers, oblivious to the girl trembling in the grass, had no idea who they were tangling with. Hannah wasn't just any child, she was the only daughter of federal Judge Samuel Baxter, a man whose name sent shivers through Tennessee's criminal underworld. Years ago, he'd locked away their gang's leaders. And now, it seemed, they'd come for revenge. Hannah wasn't your average 7-year-old. She had a quiet strength, a spark that flickered even brighter after losing her mother, Ellen, to leukemia 3 years earlier. Ellen's absence left a void in their Clover Hollow home, a craftsman-style house with a wraparound porch and faded blue shutters, but it also forged an unshakable bond between Hannah and her father. When Hannah was 4, she'd spotted a shivering black puppy in a soggy cardboard box near the town's only gas station, abandoned during a late summer thunderstorm. Soaked to the bone, she'd tugged Samuel's sleeve, her voice firm despite her small size. "Daddy, she needs us. I'll take care of her, I promise." Samuel, a widower juggling a high-stakes career and single parenthood, had sighed but couldn't resist those pleading green eyes. From that rainy day, Lucy became Hannah's constant companion. Lucy was no ordinary dog. Even as a gangly pup, she'd shown uncanny intelligence, learning commands like sit, stay, and watch with startling speed. Hannah, armed with dog-eared library books and YouTube tutorials, spent hours in their backyard training her. Neighbors often stopped by the fence to watch, marveling at how Lucy seemed to read Hannah's every glance, every subtle tilt of her head. But there was more to Lucy than tricks. Beneath her gentle playfulness lay a protector's heart. Her ears twitched at the creak of a distant gate, her body shifting to stand between Hannah and anything, or anyone, she sensed as a threat. Samuel noticed it too, though he never said much, quietly relieved that his daughter had such a steadfast guardian. Samuel Baxter, at 54, carried the weight of his role like the crisp suits he wore in court. His once dark hair was now streaked with silver, and the lines around his eyes deepened with every late night spent poring over case files. Known as the gavel in legal circles, he'd earned a reputation for delivering tough justice to violent offenders. His rulings had dismantled drug rings, trafficking networks, and motorcycle gangs like the Iron Rattlers, whose members now festered in federal prisons across the South. But at home, he shed the stern judge's mantle. He was Dad, the man who fumbled through pancake recipes on Saturday mornings, flipped pages of The Hobbit with exaggerated voices at bedtime, and taught Hannah to braid her own hair after Ellen's passing. Losing his wife had sharpened his vigilance. He'd installed state-of-the-art security, cameras, motion sensors, reinforced locks, and turned games like hide-and-seek into lessons on awareness and safety. What kept him awake wasn't the threats scrawled on crumpled letters, it was the fear of failing Hannah. That afternoon, Hannah and Lucy had set out on their daily walk, a ritual that carved a slice of normalcy into their guarded lives. Maple Lane was their haven, a half-mile stretch from their porch to the old willow at the road's end. Samuel had once insisted their housekeeper, Mrs. Clara Thompson, a spry widow with a knack for knitting and a soft spot for Hannah, accompany them. But Hannah's growing responsibility with Lucy and the dog's impeccable behavior had earned her the privilege of short solo walks, always within view of the home's cameras. "If Lucy keeps being a good girl," Hannah said, skipping beside her dog, "Daddy says we might hike Pine Ridge on Saturday. You'd like that, wouldn't you?" Lucy's ears perked, her tail wagging as if she understood every word. Then the air shifted. 2 motorcycles rumbled into view, their engines a low growl as they crept down the lane, a street where cars rarely topped 20 miles an hour. The riders wore jackets stitched with a coiled rattlesnake, their faces hidden behind tinted visors. Hannah's stomach tightened. Samuel had taught her to trust her instincts around strangers, and these men felt wrong. "Let's go home, Lucy," she murmured, turning back. But a third bike rolled up behind them, blocking their path. Lucy's hackles rose, a deep growl vibrating in her throat as the bikes converged, forming a triangle around them. The lead rider yanked off his helmet, revealing a face marred by a jagged scar that snaked from brow to jaw. Travis "Rattler" Kane, second in command of the Iron Rattlers, smirked coldly. "Well, look what we've got," he drawled, his Tennessee twang laced with menace. Judge Baxter's little pride and joy, and her mutt. Hannah's grip tightened on Lucy's leash. "My dad says not to talk to strangers," she said, her voice small but steady. Lucy stepped forward, planting herself between Hannah and Travis, her stance a silent vow. "Smart kid," Travis chuckled, the sound hollow. "But we ain't strangers. We're your daddy's old pals from work." The others laughed, a chilling chorus that prickled Hannah's skin. "Nice dog," Travis added, nodding to a biker who pulled a metal pipe from his saddlebag. "Too bad she's gotta learn a lesson." Chaos erupted. One biker revved his engine, charging at Lucy. She dodged, but Travis lunged for Hannah. Lucy exploded into action, her jaws clamping onto his arm with a ferocity that made him howl. "Get this damn mutt off me," he roared, swinging his fist. Another biker swung the pipe, striking Lucy's ribs with a sickening crack. "Stop it!" Hannah screamed, tears blurring her vision as she rushed forward. "Stop hurting her." A rough shove sent her sprawling into the grass, the air whooshing from her lungs. Gasping, she watched Lucy fight on, outnumbered, bloodied, but unbroken. Each yelp stabbed at Hannah's heart. Then Samuel's voice echoed in her mind, "If you're in danger, hide. Don't fight, just get safe." Sobbing, she crawled into the ditch, then the tall grass beyond, peering out as the bikers tightened their circle. Lucy stood her ground, a dark silhouette against the fading light, guarding the path home. The bikers didn't see Hannah anymore, but their message was clear: this was war, and Judge Baxter was the target. 3 months earlier, the United States District Court in Nashville thrummed with a tension thick enough to taste. Judge Samuel Baxter swept into the courtroom, his black robe billowing like a storm cloud as he ascended the bench. At 54, he carried an air of quiet authority, his silver-streaked hair catching the fluorescent light. His face betrayed nothing of the gravity he felt as he faced 8 members of the Iron Rattlers, their tattooed arms and hardened stares a gallery of defiance. They'd run a methamphetamine empire that flooded Tennessee's small towns, leaving a trail of overdoses and broken lives. After a 3-month trial, endless testimony, wiretaps, and grieving families, Baxter held their fate. "All rise," the bailiff intoned, his voice bouncing off the wood-paneled walls. The room divided into 2 camps, the defendant's kin, women with tired eyes clutching rosaries, men with clenched fists, and the victims' families, holding faded photos and whispered prayers. Baxter's gaze swept over them, a practiced mask of detachment hiding the ache in his chest. "Be seated," he said, his tone firm as he opened the thick file before him. "This court has reviewed the evidence, the jury's unanimous verdict, the pre-sentencing reports, and the statements from those your crimes have harmed. You've torn apart communities, preyed on the vulnerable, and shown a callous disregard for human life." He fixed his eyes on Marcus "Viper" Slade, the gang's president. A rattlesnake tattoo coiled around Slade's neck, its ink pulsing with every angry breath. "Mr. Slade, as the leader of this operation, you orchestrated a plague on this state. You've offered no remorse, no accountability. This court sentences you to 35 years in federal prison, without parole." Baxter moved methodically through the others, 20 to 30 years each, his voice a steady hammer striking nails into their fates. These were among the toughest sentences federal guidelines allowed, cementing his nickname, the Gavel. As bailiff stepped forward, Slade lunged against their grip, his face contorted with rage. "This ain't justice, Baxter. It's personal. I know you, I know what you love." 2 officers wrestled him back, his shouts echoing as he was dragged out. Baxter's expression didn't waver, but a cold dread coiled in his stomach. Threats were routine, crumpled notes, hissed warnings outside the courthouse, but Slade's words carried a venom that felt too precise, too intimate. Later, in a stark holding cell lit by flickering fluorescents, Slade sat with Travis Kane, his second in command. Shadows carved harsh lines across their faces as they leaned close. Voices hushed. "Baxter thinks he's untouchable behind that bench," Slade growled, a vein throbbing in his temple. "But he's about to feel what it's like to bleed." Travis's scarred face tightened. "The boys are ready, just give the word." Slade's smile was a predator's baring teeth. "He took our brothers, so we take his heart. Find his weak spot, everyone's got one." Travis nodded, eyes glinting. "His kid. That little girl and her dog. She walks Maple Lane every day, same time, same route. Like clockwork." Slade traced the rattlesnake on his neck, his voice dropping to a hiss. "Start there. Make it hurt. Let Baxter know we can reach him anytime." Travis rose as a guard approached, his grin cold. "The Rattlers don't forget." 3 days later, that plan ignited on Maple Lane. As Hannah hid in the grass, Travis yanked a hunting knife from his boot, its blade catching the last rays of sunlight. "Nothing personal." "Pooch," he sneered, raising it toward Lucy. Hannah's breath caught, her whispered, "Daddy, please," a desperate prayer. Another biker kicked Lucy's side, her yelp slicing through the air. But she held firm, teeth flashing. The sound shattered Hannah's fear into something fiercer. She stumbled from the grass, fists balled. "Stop hurting my dog," she screamed, her voice cracking but carrying across the lane with startling power. Travis spun, his smirk twisting. Well, the princess steps up. Grab her, she's our leverage now." A biker moved toward her, but Lucy surged, slamming into his chest and sending him sprawling. The others swarmed her, pipes and fists flying. "Finish the mutt," Travis barked, mounting his bike. A pipe rose for a killing blow, but a shout pierced the chaos. "Run, Hannah." Mrs. Clara Thompson, their 70-year-old neighbor with arthritis-slowed knees, hobbled toward them, phone pressed to her ear. "Police are coming, go now." Travis spat a curse, revving his engine. "We'll get her later. Tell your daddy the Rattlers send their regards." The bikes roared off, dust swirling as sirens wailed in the distance. Hannah dropped beside Lucy, wrapping her arms around the whimpering dog. "You're the bravest, Lucy," she sobbed, pressing her face into the blood-matted fur. "Please be okay." Mrs. Clara reached them, her face pale. "Oh, honey, what were you thinking? Facing those brutes?" Hannah looked up, tears cutting tracks through the dirt on her cheeks. They were hurting Lucy. To her, it was that simple, loyalty was everything. 2 Clover Hollow officers arrived. Their cruiser skidding to a stop. They took in the scene, a trembling girl, a battered German shepherd, blood on the pristine lane. "What happened?" Officer Daniels asked, kneeling. "Motorcycle gang," Mrs. Clara said, voice shaking. "They attacked Judge Baxter's daughter and her dog." The name Baxter sparked recognition. Danielle's partner radioed for backup. "No animal control," Hannah cut in, her voice firm despite her sobs. "Lucy needs a vet, now. She saved me." Daniels met her gaze, nodding. "We'll take you both to the emergency vet." "Kid. But we've got to call your dad." Lucy was gently lifted into the cruiser, Hannah climbing in beside her, one hand on her dog's shallow breaths. The ride was silent, the weight of the day pressing down. At the Nashville Federal Courthouse, Samuel's secure line rang mid-briefing. His assistant's voice trembled, "Judge, it's Hannah and Lucy, police on line 1." He lunged for the phone. Heart hammering. "This is Baxter." The officer's report, bikers, an attack, his little girl, froze his blood. "I'm going to the vet," he told his security detail, already striding out. The Rattlers had declared war, and they'd soon face a father's reckoning. The oak forest behind the Baxter home stretched into the Pine Ridge foothills, a tapestry of towering trees and hidden trails Hannah knew like her own backyard. She and Lucy had spent countless weekends exploring, hunting for arrowheads, splashing in creeks, Lucy's barks echoing through the woods. Now, as dusk draped the forest in purple shadows, it felt alien, menacing. Hannah moved slowly, her sneakers crunching pine needles, one hand gripping Lucy's leash, the other steadying her injured dog. The vet had done what they could, bandaged Lucy's cracked ribs, stitched her deepest cuts, dosed her with painkillers, but warned Samuel, she needs rest and observation. These injuries are severe, she should stay overnight. Then came the call, Rattlers spotted near Clover Hollow Veterinary. Samuel made the snap decision, get them to the safe house. "It's okay, Lucy," Hannah whispered, her breath fogging in the crisp air. "We're almost to Daddy's special cabin." Lucy limped forward, her proud gait reduced to a pained shuffle, but her loyalty shone brighter than her wounds. They followed a path Samuel had drilled into her, disguised as adventure games. Follow the creek upstream to the 3 stacked boulders, turn left, walk 5 minutes. Now, those lessons were her lifeline. At the courthouse basement command center, Samuel paced. Tie undone, sleeves rolled up. U.S. Marshal Laura Hayes, a no-nonsense woman with a sharp mind and sharper aim, briefed him over a topo map. "The Rattlers have split into 3 groups, systematic sweeps through the woods. They know where to look." Samuel's jaw tightened. "This isn't random. Someone sold us out." Laura nodded grimly. "Extraction teams are prepped for the safe house, but we can't move openly without tipping them off." Samuel's mind raced, his 7-year-old was out there, navigating miles of forest with a dying dog, hunted by men he'd caged. "Hold on, Hannah," he muttered, fists clenched. The safe house loomed ahead, a weathered cabin tucked among pines, its dark windows blending with the trees. Hannah checked the perimeter as Samuel had taught, undisturbed pine needles. A thin fishing line stretched across the door intact. "We made it," she breathed, relief washing over her. But Lucy tensed, nose twitching, a low growl rumbling. Hannah froze as the door shifted, no breeze. Just a shadow inside. Trusting Lucy's instincts, she backed into the undergrowth, heart pounding. "If it feels wrong, hide," Samuel had said. "Trust Lucy, she'll know." Back at base. An FBI agent burst in, breathless. Thermal drones picked up 6 bikers converging on the safe house, armed, moving fast. Samuel's face hardened. They knew the exact spot. "We've got a traitor." Laura adjusted tactics. If Hannah's trained right, she'll spot the danger and steer clear. Pride flickered in Samuel's chest. Ellen, a former park ranger, had taught Hannah wilderness skills from toddlerhood. He'd kept them sharp after her death. "Expand the search," he ordered. Caves, rock piles, old sheds, anywhere she'd hole up within 3 miles. Hours of trekking drained Hannah's small frame. Lucy stumbled, her breathing ragged, blood seeping through bandages. By a fallen log, Hannah gathered pine boughs, crafting a makeshift bed. "We'll find Daddy tomorrow," she murmured. Curling beside Lucy for warmth. Sleep eluded her, Travis's scarred sneer, Lucy's pained cries replayed endlessly. "I'm scared," she whispered, tears welling. Lucy licked her cheek. Then stiffened, ears pricking, a soft growl. Someone was close. Jake Rookie Tanner, a 22-year-old Rattlers recruit, moved through the woods, tracking faint prints. 6 months ago. He'd joined the gang seeking the family he'd never had, orphaned young, bouncing through foster homes. Running drugs, roughing up rivals, that was one thing. Hunting a kid and her dog felt like a betrayal of the brotherhood he'd craved. He slowed, debating losing the trail, when Lucy's growl stopped him cold. His flashlight swept the darkness, landing on a crude shelter, Hannah, tear-streaked but fierce, shielding Lucy. "If you hurt her again," she said, voice unwavering, "my daddy will lock you up forever." Her courage struck Jake like a freight train. He'd seen loyalty preached in the Rattlers, brothers before all, but this was real, a girl ready to fight for her wounded dog. A dog who'd nearly died for her. "I'm not here to hurt you," he said, lowering the light. "I'm done with them." Hannah studied him, wary but desperate. "Lucy needs help," she said finally. Jake nodded, guilt gnawing at him. "I've got a first aid kit on my bike, I can try." Lucy sniffed him, then relaxed with a soft whine. Hannah took it as approval. "Okay," she said. "But if you're lying, she'll bite harder than last time." Jake smiled despite himself. "Fair deal." An abandoned ranger cabin, its logs cloaked in moss and ivy, rose from the forest floor like a relic. Hannah guided Lucy inside, settling her on a threadbare bearskin rug near the hearth. Jake followed, erasing their tracks with tricks he'd learned from the Rattlers, walking on rocks. Brushing away prints, laying false trails. "This place is off their maps," he assured Hannah, scanning the woods through a cracked window. She focused on Lucy, whose breaths grew shallower. Blood staining the bandages anew. "She needs a doctor," Hannah said, voice cracking with fear. Jake rummaged through the cabin, finding a dusty first aid kit, canned peaches, water bottles, and a battery-powered radio. "We might call for help," he said, fiddling with it. Static hissed, no signal. "I've got a phone," he admitted, pulling a battered flip phone from his pack. "I didn't use it, Rattlers could track it, but Lucy's out of time." One bar flickered. "Can you call Daddy?" Hannah asked, hope flaring. "I don't have his number," Jake said. "But 911 will." Before he dialed, engines rumbled outside. Peering out, he saw 4 bikes, Travis leading. "Stay quiet," he whispered. "I'll lead them off." He pressed the phone into Hannah's hand. "Wait 10 minutes, then call." Jake bolted out the back, crashing through brush to draw their eyes. Hannah counted seconds, arms around Lucy's neck. The dog lay still, sensing danger. At 10 minutes, she dialed. "Emergency services," a calm voice answered. "I'm Hannah Baxter, Judge Samuel Baxter's daughter," she whispered. "I'm in an old ranger cabin with my dog Lucy, she's hurt bad. Bad men on motorcycles are after us." The dispatcher sharpened, "We've been searching for you. Describe your spot." Hannah noted a jagged rock formation and a creek. "Stay on the line, help's coming." At headquarters, Samuel hunched over maps, haggard from a sleepless night, when an agent burst in. Hannah called 911, Sector 7, a cabin. "She's unhurt, but Lucy's critical. Rattlers are close." Relief crashed over him. "Helicopters 8 minutes out," Laura said. "I'm going," Samuel declared, tone brooking no dissent. At the cabin, Hannah whispered to Lucy. "Daddy's coming." The door slammed open. Travis, blood dripping from a fresh cut, loomed. "Thought your pal could fool us," he snarled. Lucy struggled up, growling. He lunged for Hannah. But Lucy bit his arm, collapsing from the effort. Rotors thundered overhead. Hannah threw herself at Travis, fists pounding. "You hurt Lucy." He stumbled back, into federal agents. The cabin erupted, Travis cuffed, medics rushing in. Samuel burst through, lifting Hannah into his arms. "Daddy, they hurt Lucy," she sobbed. Paramedics assessed the dog, alive. "Barely. Chopper takes her first," Samuel said. "We'll save her, I swear." As Lucy was airlifted, Jake, battered but unarrested, met Samuel's gaze, a silent pact born of shared purpose. 3 weeks later, Lucy's recovery defied odds. Hannah stayed by her side, whispering of camping trips and cozy nights. Samuel offered Jake vet tech training over witness protection, a new path. At home, a sunlit recovery room awaited Lucy, ramp and all. The rattlers crumbled under raids, justice served. That evening, Hannah read to Lucy under Samuel's watchful eye, her tail thumping softly. In their quiet healing, a family, girl, dog, father, and an unlikely ally, found redemption in loyalty's unbreakable bond. From Hannah and Lucy's incredible journey, we learn that true loyalty knows no bounds. It's the courage to stand up for those we love. Even when the odds are stacked against us, and the strength to find light in the darkest moments. It's a reminder that family, whether by blood or bond, is worth fighting for. What did this story teach you? Drop your thoughts in the comments below, I'd love to hear them. And if it touched your heart, give it a like and share it with someone who needs a little inspiration today. Let's keep the conversation going.